All right, we're doing a field test today with the Bering Optics 640 resolution dedicated thermal rifle scope. This one is called the Super Yoter. -R will indicate that it's rifle, -C will indicate clip-on. 640 resolution, 12 micron, 50 millimeter lens. We were supposed to be at the NRA convention today, September 4th, but that got canceled, so I'm going to do a field test rather to bring you some of the key features and specifics on this unit that should be being released within the next 60 days. So 640, there's a lot of adequate 384 scopes out on the market right now. One that I can think of offhand would be Bering's 384 Super Hogster. And I get asked the question a lot, you know, is the 640 really worth the $1,000 plus price premium difference? And I'd have to say it is if you are a regular and frequent user of your equipment. So not only is 640 going to give you the capability to see beyond 100 yards and place accurate shots, but even inside of 100 yards, again, if you're a frequent hunter and shooter, you're just going to get better image resolution on static and moving targets inside of 100 yards with a 640 system. So we'll be doing some shooting here in a little while at 50 and 100, but at 100, those foil squares on target are going to show as best as possible using a 640 versus a 384 system. So a lot of times, and I get it, budget is key. Folks will just spend as much as they can to maximize the equipment inside of their range. But if you have the extra money, I guarantee that you're going to see some added benefits using a 640 resolution scope inside of 100 yards. Also, this Super Yoter is right now equipped with a LaRue quick disconnect single throw lever toolless mount, and Bering does a fantastic job at the factory of aligning these mounts as well as epoxying them to the body of the scope for ultimate consistency, and they're not going to go anywhere once Bering puts them on. So the LaRue mount with this Super Yoter-R is a fantastic pairing. Also, you've got a 50 millimeter lens and the Vox 12 micron 640 core. You are getting outstanding image quality for this price point. The image quality hits well above the price point, if you ask my opinion. So, you know, your lens speed and your thermal sensitivity, Bering has really done a fantastic job selecting components. Other feature that is often overlooked but is critical, again, if you're using your equipment out in the field, you're hunting at night, you don't want to be fumbling through menus and, you know, trying to find knobs on the side and turn dials. And if you just simply want to go through your zoom progression, you would hit the power button quickly, and that's going to cycle you through your zoom. If you plan to be on an extended hunt, you push these front two buttons together quickly, puts the scope in standby mode. If your image becomes fuzzy or needs to be calibrated, the back two buttons at the same time quickly. You'll hear the shutter, so you don't have to close the lens to do this. You simply, it has an internal shutter, and it'll recalibrate clicking these back two quickly. So quick and easy to use at night. Okay, so right now what I intend to do, this is my hunting buddy Brian, Carpe Sus. Look him up on YouTube. He's been actually using this rig for the last couple months, and if you go to Carpe Sus on YouTube, you see a lot of hunting footage with this Super Yoter-R. So this is actually his rifle. He took his suppressor off because I'm not on his trust. But what I'd like to do, since he gave me the whole setup here, and obviously he's got the USB-C for external battery power here. He's got it all integrated in, and I'm not going to take all of that off. So, but while it's all set up for me, I'm going to take 5 shots down at 100, and then as I take this unit off this gun to show you the mount and to put it on another rifle to do some further testing, I will eventually return it back to this gun, and we'll do another 5 shots, and we'll test the return to zero. All right, so we've got a tactical brass recovery brass catcher on the side here. This is a 6.5 Grendel. Now, Brian's been using this on Profile 1 using factory 90 grain American Eagle ammunition. I have reloaded 90 grain TNT ammunition, so it may not hit exactly bullseye, but I'm guessing it's going to be within 2 inches point of impact based on what Brian has this zeroed. So I'm not going to touch his zero at all. I'll look inside the scope, I'll verify them on profile 1. We'll shoot 5 shots at 100, we'll go down and check it. And then a little bit later this afternoon, I'll put the scope back on this rifle, return back to the 1 profile, and we'll reshoot the 5 to see if the mount returned to 0. So here we go. Okay, initiate recording by pressing and holding the back button. Okay, here we go. 5 shots. I'll go ahead and bump up zoom to 2 times. Alright, so we're down here, downrange at 100 yards after taking those 5 shots. I felt like they were all pretty steady held, larger than an inch. Okay, so here we are on the next rifle. We're going to try the Super Yoter-R on. And I have not made an adjustment from taking it off of the 6.5 Grendel. I did mark with a marker where the adjustment nut is relative to the throw lever, and the reason I did that is it seems like I'm going to have to make an adjustment for this bolt action. So getting the mount on the gun right there, it becomes tight at too far out of a position. I mean, you would really have to get on it, and you could cause damage to an aluminum scope rail or the mount itself if there's too much pressure to close it. So we're going to have to release some of the tension off the throw lever. And so to do that, you simply 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go 4 clicks counterclockwise. And there you have it. Is to adjust the LaRue mount on a Super Yoter-R. I'm going to go ahead and put this in a good position for a bolt action setup, which is going to be pretty far back. This front ridge on the LaRue mount will sit into these rails, but you have to have the purchase right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it there. Again, no tools necessary. You shouldn't have to use a mallet or anything to close that. You want to be able to get it on and off relatively easily. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. Locking it in. Unlock the mount. Come off the gun. Adjust back to my original 6.5 Grendel. Let me put a mark where I have it for the 308 here. Okay, there's the mark for the Grendel originally on that post. Now that post I'm going to mark there for the 308. I think it was 4 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 puts me back on the 6.5 Grendel mark. And that was 4 clockwise, which means more tension. Bring the Grendel back up. Get my cable routed correctly. Right there. That's good pressure. Locked. going to do the return to zero test. 6.5 Grendel, 90 grain. And I'm going to send 5 shots down to verify that we return to zero with the LaRue mount. Okay, so I did have a shift. It shifted, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was the original, I believe. And then the next 5 are shifted over. Now, to be honest, I didn't quite look which rail he had the scope in originally. So I may have put it in a different slot. However, a shift's a shift. So we'll leave these just as it is, and we'll start also coming on and off with the 308, and for the next hour or so we'll take note of any more shifts, but I'll be sure to put this one in the correct slot from where I have it now. Again, no adjustments to zero is happening here. This is all mount related. Alright, so I'm going to mark these. Alright, quick update. I went back and reviewed the footage that I had recorded earlier, and I did verify that I placed the scope further back on the rail for the second return to zero test than Brian originally had it set. So using that video, I'm going to go put the Yoter back where Brian had it and refire this group, and we should see a shift. This green group will be the anomaly, and we should have overlap of this third group over the red group. So I did verify that. Alright, studying the previous video, I see exactly now how Brian had it originally set up, so I've put it back in the exact same rail slot as when we started the day. I'm going to send 3 down, 3 shots, and then I'm going to switch the scope over to the 308 and take 2 shots with that, and then we'll go check those targets, come back down and swap the scope between the rifles for a couple of 2 or 3 shot groups and get an overall return to zero. Alright, that's better. On the return to zero, 1, 2, 3, which almost mirrors this here. So obviously much better than over here. We've now ruled that out as an outlier because I, the user, put the scope back in the wrong slot by a number of slots, probably 2 or 3 off. I'll redo this again after having shot on the 308 just now. So we should get more data points in here. I'll do it twice more. The return to zero. I did that at 2 times magnification, not 1 time, so let me change that. And so each of these was 2 shots. So I did it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6 is going to be somewhere in here. So I would say that we are returning to 0. That's the same slot verified over 3 groups. Not only just taking the scope on and off, but adjusting the tension, because simultaneously I was shooting over here. And again, the outlier that I documented earlier, we had nothing else hit over here. So we can just rule those out. And I did 3 3-shot groups here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This one has 2 in it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 3 different. Now I am starting to get a rise, and I believe, again, my barrel is heating up, so it's starting to string upwards. But out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of 14 are right here in this band. And so we established that first group was about 1.5 inches MOA. So this lateral spread is consistent with that first group that we shot. So over 2 different rifles, I would say that you're pretty safe to return to 0 using the LaRue mount on the Super Yoter-R.